Hi guys, I'm Dee.
And I'm Jay.
Welcome back to our channel. Now if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so that you can be notified when we post new videos. Today we'll be discussing the Shadowspell Academy Culling Trials Book 3 by Breene and Shannon Mayer. Now if you haven't watched our first and second videos, the links will be below and above, so go ahead and check those out first and come on back so we can discuss Book 3. So, the final Shadowspell Academy, Book 3, basically goes through the last of the Culling Trials, right? Now, Wild thought that she had been through the worst, but oh, was she wrong. We see the team going through the final trial and basically being shattered and pushed to the test. We now know that someone is trying to kill them, or kill one or all of them. So the stakes are much, much higher, right? But they refuse to stop. They have to make it through to the end because their family's life is at stake. So we go through the challenge of the mage, and this is where we're expected to see Ethan strive, but there's so many twists and turns that are thrown their way. You're in for a rude awakening because it'll mean either death or success. So let's dive into our thoughts. This will be a spoiler-filled review, so this is your spoiler alert. If you haven't yet read the Shadowspell Academy series, approach this video with a grain of salt because there will be spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and check that out first and then come back to our video. Jay, what do you think of the final, either the final book or even as a whole? What do you think of the Shadowspell Academy, the Culling Trials, now that you've read all three? Wait, first of all, what do you think of book 3?
In book 3, what in the first 2 books, what I loved about it, coming over to book 3 now, is what made it good. Now this time it didn't really make book 3 good. So all of the praises that I was giving it in the first 2 books, it kind of made the book suffer a whole lot more in book 3. So it was really a rough patch, and I kind of was very confused on this book.
Interesting. I actually preferred book 3 to book 2. Strange enough, I think that there were lots of questions that were answered, and the ending really gave it a redemption for me. So I enjoyed it more than the second book. It still didn't blow my hair back, but I did enjoy book 3 a little bit more than the second book. We will be diving into spoilers now because we're going to be talking about the whole series. So be warned. What do you think, Jay, of the series as a whole? You can give me specifics if you have them. What did you think now that you read all 3 books?
Okay, so all 3 books now, it's gonna be an okay book. The powers, I can't really talk about the whole book. Because the first 2 book I loved. The third book I didn't love. It's an okay book. Now,
why didn't you like the third book?
Okay. Maybe because the powers, I think the whole idea, okay, what I didn't like is that, Wally, which is supposed to be very smart in the first 2 books, Wild asked her if it's possible for them to have other powers or have attachment to other powers than the other one. So Wally said that Wild was asking Wally regarding, is it possible to be affiliated with other houses? She said, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
She did say you can have multiple powers, but generally it's mute. The secondary one is muted because you're trained. Basically, if you have a hobby, you don't use it, you sort of lose it. So they train you on one skill, so the others fade by the wayside.
Right, and I think with the book 3, since this is now the spoiler part, you have Adam and Cold, both of them wizards, and basically have
Adam? You mean Ethan?
No, Adam would be the second
assistant director.
Right, okay. Right, and Colt, where I believe they're both wanderers, and they're also
mages.
Yeah, right, and Shade. So they're basically wanderers and Shade, right? So with those two, and basically they weren't really trained. Of course, they won't have well, Adam, for example, will not have the grace of a shade, but however, he does have certain attributes that does work. I think the way how Wally explained it, I would assume that they would do have just a little bit and not a whole lot. Even though in book 3, where it's revealing what Adam has, is a little bit, but I wouldn't. They made Adam a little bit too powerful or too strong to be confused for a shade, which he apparently didn't. He didn't train as a shade, so into that in itself was a little bit confusing and a little bit. How should I say this now? It was a little bit. What's that word I'm looking for? Bias and bias. It was.
Convenient.
It's not convenient, but it was. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I didn't like that aspect of the book. And then from then on, it went even bad with, I thought it was a chosen one trope, but it isn't, which is a good.
It sort of is.
Not really when you have the.
It
She's not the only one that can attach. So that's the reason why.
Well, I think it's the chosen one trope in the sense it's a chosen one trope, but it's just done differently. You don't have to be the only one. Because it's she's the only one throughout generations. Remember, according to the director, which surprise, turned out to be the villain. But according to the director, the gift of wielding all 5 powers only happens once in across hundreds of generations. So it's like she's the chosen one in that sense. All of the people who can do it would be chosen people. Why are they special? You get me? Yeah. So it sort of is the chosen one trope. It's not the typical only one in the whole thing, but yeah.
All right. So what are your thoughts about the book?
Well, 3. I actually liked book 3 better than book 2. Remember in book 2 I was sort of upset that everything was just happening conveniently. There weren't any explanations. The magic system wasn't really explored a whole lot. That sort of bled over into book 3, sure, where in the beginning there weren't a lot of explanation, but then the explanations came towards the end. And I sort of liked how we actually learned more. We saw that not only Wild, but Wild progressed as a character, Wally progressed as a character. We saw that their arcs actually came to a complete end where they were already a bit more, they all accepted themselves more. They all were fully fleshed out characters by the end. I sort of liked that aspect because I'm all about characters. And in the first 2 books, they all started to blend together. But in the 3rd book, I was actually able to see Wild interact with the others more than just using them for props. It was explained more why she could actually hold people wands. We found out that she's a chameleon, which means that she can actually wield all 5 powers, which is unique. So that's why she's like the quote-unquote chosen one of this generation. I liked also that they caught me. The authors really got me with the whodunit because I was sold that it was actually the love interest, Rory, and I thought it was Rory and Sideburns that were going to turn out to be the villain all throughout. Like from the book 2, I was like, yeah, it's going to be Rory and Sideburns, but surprise, it wasn't. It was actually the director. So kudos to that. They really got me with the whodunit. I didn't figure it out until it played out, and I'm like, whoa. And then the vampire was her love interest, and I was like, really? I didn't see that one, so kudos to them. I think that sort of pushed my rating up a little bit. So yeah, I enjoyed the 3rd book a little bit more than the 2nd. I think that it was eventful and I felt like something happened. I didn't feel like I was just reading it in vain. So yeah, I think I liked it a little bit. So now that we've gotten our discussion gone about you have something else? Sorry.
Right. So one of the things that I disliked was the fact that, all right, so I said that it was a simple book, and now in the book 3, it was, I would say simple, but they were trying too much to change the simplicity of it. So the first tried to get you off the scent, which is kind of hard to do for me because you can only follow a certain pattern. So
I'm going to blow your mind. Funny enough, once I realize what I think, at least, opinionated, my opinions here. I don't think that it was a slow book by choice. I think that it was slow in the first two because, as I said, it's clear to me now as day that this was written as one book and cut up into 3 pieces. Yeah. Right? So I think just the way that it was cut wasn't cut the best it could have. And that's why the first 2 books played like it was going to be a slow series and the third one jumped up, because if you look at the traditional beat sheet of a story, I think, I'm not going to go too technical here, but I think that's why it seems slow in the beginning. I don't think that it was actually written to be slow.
But I didn't think it was slow in the first 2 books. I think it was a good pace. The third book, for me, however, it's just, to me, how I felt is like, I felt like as if it was, shoot. I don't even know. It felt
rushed.
Yeah, it does felt rushed in the third book. It didn't have that. It felt like it wasn't defined. Like it felt weird. And then because I listened to it, so in a sense, I don't know if I'm just putting this on the narrator, but I felt like the narrator felt very like she's reading it. She was like, "Oh man, this is some bull." Burp. So I don't know if that's just me or if I'm just influencing because of the narrator, but I don't know. I didn't feel it the third book. I really didn't feel it.
Interesting. No, I'm anxious to see what your star rating is, because you've been the one that's been fighting for this series. So let's dive into our star ratings and see where that fell. James, how much are you rating the Shadowspell Academy Culling Trials Book 3?
I'm going to go with my original thought, and I'm just going to stick with it. I'm going to give it a 3. Originally, I mean, while listening to the book, maybe because while listening to the book, I was multitasking. I was doing other stuff. I was playing game. Jesus, people, get it out of the gutter. Jeez. I was playing MapleStory. So I didn't hear a whole lot. It was confusing, but I did while listening to it, I felt like I should listen to it again or read it so that I wasn't confused. And I tried to listen to the book with you, and I'm like, oh, this is all crap. And I was going to give it a 2 while listening to it with you for the little bit that I did.
Oh, so your first go around you thought 3, and your second go around it sort of dropped a little.
To 2. But I'm gonna still keep it to a 3 because I mean there were some good positive in terms of we didn't suspect the director at all, so that's a good thing, and that's why I left it at 3.
All right, well, continuing my love-hate relationship with this whole series, my first one was a 4, my second one was a 3, I think. Well, this one was a little bit better than the second to me. It still wasn't blowing my hair back, so for me it's going to be a 3.5 because I think it was better than the second one, but it still wasn't there for me. It didn't blow my hair back and let me say, wow, right? Like, I definitely won't reread this. So for me, it's just a 3.5. So together, so it's a 3 from you, 3.5 from me. So it's a 3.25 for the Shadowspell Academy Book 3 from D&J. Wow. All right. Did you guys agree with our reviews? How much do you rate it? Now that you finished with the whole series, what do you think? Let us know below. We'd love to read your comments. We will respond to your comments, so drop them down below and let's get a discussion started. And guys, don't forget to
subscribe and continue listening to my wonderful voice.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and ding that bell so that you'll be the first persons to be notified when we upload. Thank you so much for tuning in to D&J's Book Chat, and until next time. Bye, guys.